And welcome to this edition of Gold Zone, Neuqua Valley's very own student-based sports talk show. I am Dominick Liacone. Alongside me is Connor Burns. On today's edition, we're talking all about Super Bowl Sunday. Super Bowl 55 is officially past us, and we can finally crown a Super Bowl champion. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers defeat the Kansas City Chiefs 31-9. Connor, your thoughts on the game as a whole?
I'm pretty sure that going into this game, almost everybody thought that it was going to be a nail-biter down to the last second, high scoring. My personal score prediction before the game was 31-34. Still, the Bucs winning. But we got something that nobody expected. The Buccaneers put them on skates. The Chiefs just didn't look like they were prepared. Their defense was lacking. Patrick Mahomes was just dying out there. He was looking for help everywhere he could go. No blocking on the offensive line. No receivers. They were just dropping passes left and right. And Tom Brady and that Bucs offense just lit them up.
And speaking of Tom Brady, he captures his 7th Super Bowl ring, 5th Super Bowl MVP. Is it safe to say that we can officially call Tom Brady the greatest football player of all time?
Tom Brady is, without a doubt, the GOAT. Easily. He is the greatest of all time. There is nobody close to him. Nobody is better than Tom Brady.
The amount of talent that he was able to influence to come to Tampa Bay. You're talking about Gronkowski. You're talking about Antonio Brown. Each of them had at least a touchdown in this game. How much of a factor was that? And what does that kind of say about Tom Brady, not only as a person on the field, but off the field?
On and off the field, Tom Brady, even though a lot of people just dislike him, mainly because he's just so gifted, so talented, he is such a team guy. He wants other guys to eat before he does. He wants his guys to be known, and he loves sharing that football. Also, that just helps in general. Having good chemistry with your teammates, spreading the ball out around the field, it throws off defenses because then they don't know which direction it's going to go.
Well, you talked about that offense for the Bucs and how they stay consistent throughout the game. Let's talk about that defense. They were stellar all game. Obviously, with Kansas City missing out on their top 2 offensive linemen, that surely helped. But that Bucs defense was ruthless all game long.
Well, if you look, for example, at that Chiefs offensive line missing 2 of their starters, that hurt them miserably. Because look, you look at this Tampa Bay defense, you see the number 1 rushing defense in the league. Their defensive line is dangerous. The Buccaneers knew if they put pressure on Mahomes, the game was over. Mahomes ran for 497 yards in this game before throwing the ball. Absolutely ridiculous stat line.
Do you think that if those 2 offensive linemen in for the Chiefs, if they were starting in this game, that would have made a difference?
An offensive line is the most vital part of a football team. You cannot do anything. You cannot put the ball in the end zone without an offensive line. That was shown tonight. Mahomes, one of the best quarterbacks in the league by far, runner-up for MVP this year right behind Aaron Rodgers. And it just showed. Look at the stat line. 2 interceptions from Patrick Mahomes. This was the first time he has not thrown a touchdown in the game since high school.
Now let's switch it up here. The Chiefs defense, on the other hand, they didn't look good at all. Connor, do you think that the Chiefs defense was more of a reason they lost this game compared to the Chiefs offense?
I'd say, honestly, it's a mix of both sides, but if we really want to take a deep dive into that Chiefs defense, you have to look at Tyron Matthew versus Tom Brady. If you guys saw in the beginning of the game, they were both throwing shots at each other, and then Tom Brady just attacked Tyron Matthew. Almost every single ball was thrown in his direction, and they were just dimes. They just kept hitting on him, and I think that was one of their main goals. I think it was purposely done to get in Tyron Matthew's head because he is a huge leader on that defense, and once you get that leader down, the game is over. Also, another thing that I want to point out about the Kansas City Chiefs is their special teams. If you looked at their punter, he was punting at 30, 40 yards max. I know that he's a rookie and he didn't punt much throughout the regular season just because of how good their offense is, but he just didn't look prepared at all, and they were giving the Bucs great field advantage every time that they had the ball.
The Buccaneers definitely played as a team on Sunday night. Both the defensive and offensive sides of the ball were firing on all cylinders. A stat that really popped out to me was the Bucs didn't give up the ball once throughout the entirety of the game. What does that say as the Buccaneers as a team, especially in these kinds of moments, Connor?
Well, you see, the thing is that Tampa Bay knew that if they gave Patrick Mahomes any sort of possession, there is a huge chance that he punches it in the end zone or at least gets a field goal like he did 3 times. Even though it didn't matter because Tom Brady and the Bucs offense just ran up the score, they didn't want to risk that chance, and they were very secure with that ball. Tom Brady was making smart throws the whole game. Leonard Fournette was just running the ball up the middle, pounding it down their throat and holding it tightly. Run security, ball security, that's all that mattered this game.
Tom Brady with no interceptions. Patrick Mahomes throws 2 interceptions, and this is the first time, Connor, that Patrick Mahomes has been beaten by double digits in his young career. What are him and the Kansas City Chiefs going to have to do to rebound from the Super Bowl loss and come out firing in 2021?
The Kansas City Chiefs are going to go on a revenge tour next year. Well, here's the thing. They are over the cap limit right now by, I believe, $23 million, somewhere around there. So they might have to get rid of somebody, maybe Tyreek Hill, maybe Travis Kelce. They need to retain as much of this team as they can. I could see them going back to the Super Bowl next year and potentially winning it. And I think the only team coming out of the NFC could be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't see anybody else in their way besides potentially the LA Rams, who just got Matt Stafford. I think that we could see a rematch next year, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs' #1 goal this offseason to recover from this loss, though, retain as much as your team as possible.
As we wrap up our show here, Connor, let's give our final thoughts about Super Bowl 55 as a whole. We'll start with you. What did you learn throughout the course of this game?
What I learned throughout the course of this game was 2 things relating to both the quarterbacks. #1, never bet against Tom Brady in the playoffs. The man is an absolute machine. He is at 43 years old, and he is still racking up his Lombardi trophies. I could totally see him getting another one before he calls it quits. And #2, look at Patrick Mahomes, right? I know the Chiefs offense only scored 9 points, but you look at the plays that he's making. For example, the play where he threw the ball, he was parallel to the ground. It's superhuman stuff that he's doing. And they were missing 2 of their offensive linemen. It just shows how much work he is putting in and how great of an athlete he is. That contract that he got, which is almost $500 million, 100% worth it. This man is here to stay in the NFL.
Connor, you're going to talk about the offensive side of the ball. I'm going to talk about the defensive side of the ball. 2 things really stuck out to me. That one team was a stellar and one team was very sloppy. The Bucs were amazing on the defensive side of the ball. They forced turnovers. They put Patrick Mahomes in a lot of pressure situations. He had to scramble. He had no time in the pocket. The Bucs did a great job of keeping Patrick Mahomes on his toes. The Chiefs, on the other hand, they were sloppy throughout the game. Bunch of flags being called on them, costing them points. They could have only held the Bucs to a field goal at one point, but the penalty ended up turning into an Antonio Brown touchdown. What I really saw was that the defense won this game for the Bucs and also lost it for the Chiefs. Well, that is going to do it for our Super Bowl 55 edition of Gold Zone. Again, thank you for joining Connor and I as we gave our thoughts about Super Bowl Sunday as a whole. Make sure you stay tuned right here on Nequa Media so you don't miss out on any more Gold Zone content. Again, thank you so much for joining us, and you have yourselves a fantastic rest of your day.